And today, US President Joe Biden will meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. This will be on the sidelines of the APEC Summit in San Francisco. And this meet comes in the backdrop of the Israel-Hamas war that has been raging in West Asia for over a month. But what's on the agenda for the summit? Let's take a look. The United States is hosting the annual Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit of world leaders for the first time since 2011. Leaders from the 21-member Asia-Pacific Economic Grouping will gather in San Francisco to talk about how to better spur trade and economic growth across the Pacific region. Let me further explain what this forum is about. APEC is a regional economic forum that was established in 1989. It's a forum to promote trade, investment and economic development among nations around the Pacific Ocean. The group started with 12 members in 1989 but has since grown to 21, including China, Russia, Japan, the United States and Australia. Those member nations pack a lot of punch, accounting for nearly 40% of the global population and almost half of the world's trade. The annual Leaders Conference brings together heads of nations and other top economic and diplomatic leaders, but the Russian President Vladimir Putin, facing an arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court, will not be going to San Francisco, and the United States has made it clear that he was unwelcome. Moscow will instead be represented by Deputy Prime Minister Alexei Overshuk, still the highest-level Russian visitor to the United States since the war. Moreover, APEC members include not only Indonesia but neighboring Malaysia, where Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has faced calls from opposition to boycott the summit over US support for Israel. APEC, which speaks of member economies instead of countries, unusually includes both China and Taiwan. But Taiwan, it's not represented by a politician but a business person, Morris Chang, a historic figure in Taiwan's semiconductor industry. Meanwhile, Hong Kong will be represented by Financial Secretary Paul Chan. Chief Executive John Lee, who is under US sanctions for his role in a political crackdown in Hong Kong, opted out of the summit, citing scheduling issues. While as of now the Chinese President Xi Jinping has arrived in San Francisco, and the host country, US President Joe Biden has arrived in San Francisco to host the 30th APEC Economic Leaders Meeting. Let me also tell you why San Francisco was selected as the location for the summit. It was for its historic ties to Asia and its central role in global technology. But APEC, it's unlikely to offer a respite from the issue that has dominated the American president's attention for a month, the Israel-Hamas war. But how effective is APEC? The forum has limited scope. It is centered on trade and economy. There's no military component, and it wasn't forged by a world-altering event like a war. It technically has member economies, as I mentioned earlier, rather than countries, that allows room for participation by both China-ruled Hong Kong and self-ruled Taiwan. APEC's strength lies in its ability to get countries to work together on big initiatives and to ease business relations without binding agreements. Economists point to how APEC contributed to a reduction of tariffs and other barriers to trade. But the trade landscape here is different now. When APEC began in a period of increased globalization, the US strategy has been focused on economic competition with China rather than cooperation. Even as US leaders continue to stress on the importance of cooperation, Biden is seeking partnerships with other nations in the region to develop alternatives to Chinese manufacturing imports such as electronic equipment, machinery, furniture, textiles and other goods. The American president is also trying to highlight progress on the new Indo-Pacific trade deal started last year after the former US President Donald Trump withdrew from the more popular Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, the conference has had its challenges and moments of drama in recent years. Chile withdrew as APEC host in 2019 due to mass protests. The next year, the group met virtually in 2020 and 2021 because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Leaders did gather in Bangkok last year, but US President skipped the summit because his granddaughter was getting married and he sent Vice President Kamala Harris in his place. That decision was regarded as a snub by some APEC leaders. Then delegates from the United States and 4 other nations walked out to protest Russia's invasion of Ukraine as the Russian representative of the conference began to speak. This year may give rise to friction over Israel-Hamas war in West Asia. The variety of nations involved in the summit have strong views on both sides of the conflict. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.